Honestly, I feel like I've noticed like a lot of people gain weight, like for my guy friends, like just gain weight through college. Like, because sometimes like if you're, because I know if it's like super windy and stuff like that, then like your shirt will like stick to like your body, and like I can see like the roll of fat, and I'm like, yeah, it's interesting because usually when I see them, I'm just like, oh, they just look like normal, and or like if I see them like wear something nice, like usually if you're wearing like a button up or like button down, like it's not like as obvious about like your weight. So I was like, I guess I guess it's normal to be out of shape.
The dad bod, bro. That's the real move.
Dude, no, that's actually like that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm like, no, I thought about it and I was like, I'm trying to become a DILF. Like that's really my goal.
Deal.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Nuanced Nonsense. We're not experts, but we just like talking. This is your co-host Alex,
And your other co-host, Ben?
and today we brought on my friend Nolan. He's actually been on the podcast before. Yeah, and he's a recently graduated senior from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and he graduated with a degree in psychology.
Yeah, anything else you'd like to add, buddy?
Uh, it's just weird. I'm staring at myself in the video.
He's a
This is 2020.
blogger.
Yeah.
This
What's
is
up?
2020, Nolan.
This is 2020.
Yes.
Maybe work will be like this.
We start off with like a softball question. And so today's is, what'd you most recently eat?
Um, I had spaghetti for lunch. I eat spaghetti pretty often because I can't really cook that well. But it's decent. Yeah, just spaghetti, tomato sauce, some meatballs. Um, yeah, I like it. It's kind of boring, I guess.
Oh, okay. What about you, Alex?
I had dumplings for lunch. Um, yeah, my parents like just make a bunch of dumplings, it's frozen,
Ooh.
and they just boil it. I had like 12. How about you?
I had fried rice and vegetables. And the reason I asked this is because so I do like a Q&A journal thing. It basically asks me a question every day and I just answer it. Instead of like actually journaling, I do this because less effort. And one of the recent questions I got is like, how healthy do you think you are on a scale of 1 to 10? And I was like, that's really interesting because your perception of your health and nutrition could be vastly different from your actual health and nutrition. So I was just curious what you guys thought of your own health.
Hmm. That's actually I remember so um all throughout undergrad I lived in dorms. There was this really good community and I liked basically having endless food. I wasn't that picky about dorm food, so I really liked having like all of the cafeterias were buffets at the U of I. So I loved getting my fill, but I stayed the summers. Basically, I think every summer. So then, yeah, I guess then, of course, I subleased and I lived in apartments. And yeah, I realized then, like, I try and optimize stuff, like, buying just like chicken breast, vegetables, rice. I think that's how most sort of like young college kids do in apartments. It's kind of like meat that their parents made and froze for them that they prepare like maybe with vegetables and then like over rice. Um, but yeah, I think like nowadays though, like thinking because I moved back home after graduating or because of the quarantine, but also graduating. I'm just thinking like, how can I sort of just eat what I need to? Otherwise, I'm gonna be eating spaghetti for like the rest of my life, and I don't think that's good. It's not a very diverse diet. Yeah, but anyways, I there's like one sort of fitness YouTuber guy I watch, and he talked a lot about like how important nutrition is and eating. Yeah, basically like to try looking good. He was like, working out is very important, lifting weights is very important, but like another like half of the formula for looking good is eating right. And then he was saying like so many people online talk a lot about like macronutrients. Anyone who works out a ton will talk to you about like protein or making sure you don't eat just carbs, stuff like that. But then he was saying like micronutrients are also super important. And he was like, he broke it down on like his like personal website. He was saying you need to eat like leafy greens, berries, like there's a food group called like carotenoids, basically like red and orange things. They have a lot of antioxidants. Yeah, he was saying like whole grains and stuff, and like you of course make sure you drink water. And then you know, big for people trying to gain muscle, like lean protein, fish, chicken, ground beef. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like it literally is like a whole circle, like an entire food pyramid. He's talking like the details of, and I was like, man, I'm not getting any of this nowadays. Like I'm so lazy. And yeah, it's crazy because I think before then I was like, oh, you know, I'm not hungry. I just eat like intuitively. But then, you know, just make sure I get enough for every meal, and that was it. But yeah, he basically ripped apart my diet. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I don't really like pay that much attention to my diet. I just eat whatever is given to me, like by my parents, or like I just go to like a couple go-to restaurants. Whether if it was in Austin or you know, back home in Plano. It's also a little hard for me because like I have a lot of food allergies, so I think it kind of limits like what I can eat. So I'm usually just like, if I can eat this, I want to maximize my enjoyment because like I don't have that many choices. Um, but I guess recently I have been noticing that um, like as you get older, your metabolism slows, and I'm out of shape. But I don't know the details about that. I just know I'm getting fat.
So on like a scale of 1 to 10, how healthy do you believe you guys are?
Hmm. So if one is like
Lowest.
labor camps, like you're in you're in like Oakland eating top ramen every day, and 10 is like, I guess, just like completely perfect, like basically the guy I was talking about.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe I'd say it's probably above average. I'm definitely getting like enough calories and a good amount of protein. That's basically all I care about. Yeah, maybe like 7.
I have no idea, so I'm just gonna say 5.
I think it's tough though, because if you want to like say the scale is everyone in like the world, maybe like compare that to the average American, or say compare that to people our age. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because like, I mean, none of us are going hungry, and all of us can afford to have some vegetables, you know. And we're not malnourished. So we're getting vitamins through, like we have some diet diversity. Yeah. But it's hard to say kind of what the upper peak is. Like, you really think someone who's eating spinach every day is able to like curl, you know, 10 pounds more than you or something? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Or like, you know, how much better is their like skin, or how much better do they feel? And yeah. Yeah, I think that's been hard. Something I've been thinking about is, you know, how much do I really need to have perfect nutrition? Because, yeah, plenty of times, like, yeah, I've kind of gone on a diet. I'm trying to lose some weight. So I've been counting calories and tracking protein too. And yeah, but basically, like, many days have come where I'm very hungry. I feel like I'm just like, it's not in the program. I'm looking at my phone, like the app, I track everything. And I'm just like, I can't afford like a single calorie extra. Like I can't even eat like a tiny cookie. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how do people live like this? That some people are, you know, they don't feel like satisfied like every day, but like they're still living fine, you know? Um, and I'm like, man, I guess part of it is like, you know, the psychology, like my brain just kind of wants more food. Like my mouth is hungry, but my stomach isn't, or I don't know. But like, yeah, I don't know that, it's tough. It's tough. Like, yeah, because then I was thinking, like, you know, I already feel pretty good. How much do I need to eat leafy greens every day? How much do I need to eat like sweet potatoes every day, or you know, some kind of tomatoes or oranges or whatever? Like, will it be that good, like for me? And that's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Yeah.
Like, what was your resolution after that? Like, did you like decide to like not really care about calorie counting, or are you still like doing it, but just like you're not like adhering to like as strict of a standard?
Oh no, I think like, yeah, like no, I guess you know, Alex.
Mhm.
I had some big trouble with adhering, and actually, yeah, the same guy, YouTuber guy, he was talking about like how big cheat days and cheat meals are. He's just saying like cheat meals, maybe like set some kind of number, and then you know try and even schedule it. just, you can say it's something to look forward to. So you don't cheat on Monday because you know you're going to have this planned meal once a week on Wednesday. And that can help you commit. And you know, then you kind of have to concede and say like, I'm not getting 100% of the benefits of this diet. I'm getting like 99, 98. But I'm like, okay, I can see the merit in something like that. So then I was implementing cheat days, but then it got really bad. Then I was just like, if I eat Chipotle, it's pretty healthy. It's not a cheat. Or, you know, something like that. Or like, you know, things I can't track, especially like anytime I have Chinese food or something, I have no idea. Like, yeah. But actually, no, my real resolution now is, I mean, lately it hasn't been hard to adhere to the diet. I don't know. But yeah, now my real solution is I went on the guy's website and he has a thing called like custom meal planner. And it basically like put in your like information about yourself, like how active you are, what your goals are in terms of like losing weight, you know, and of course like your height and your weight currently. And then, yeah, and then what kind of like diet do you want? Like or low carb, medium carb, like if you're a vegetarian, that's an option. Yeah, and then he literally like will plan out a week's worth of meals that fit like calorie count and have all the diversity you need in terms of micronutrients too. Yeah, and then the craziest part was he connected it to Amazon Fresh, like the delivery service. So literally, like, yeah, you could like add it all to your cart, assuming you're in like the area where they deliver, and you can have it all delivered, like meat and vegetables and dry goods and everything. I was like, that's amazing. But like currently, like yeah, my family moved really recently, so our old house is on sale, or it's sort of on the market. But then the realtor said, leave the fridge there because it's gonna look really awkward if it's out. Like it'll be harder to sell that way. So then, yeah, like we have a smaller fridge right now, and yeah, like kind of basically a lot of what that diet plan entails is batch cooking. So like, you know, make this like chili like once a month, and then yeah, you freeze most of it, and then what you're gonna eat kind of in the next few days you keep in the fridge. But then yeah, you need a lot of Tupperware, you need a lot of freezer space, and I just can't do it now. But I'm like, that's the move. Like I don't need to think about it too much. It's really healthy, and it's super convenient. But I don't have the space. Yeah.
So even though you moved back home, it's kind of like you're still like trying to live in like the college life, I guess. And that like there's like limited.
Yeah, basically I'm just eating like Greek yogurt, eggs, spaghetti, and like fish and protein shakes. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I always find it funny when people are like, you need to learn to cook. Like you want to make pasta for the rest of your life. And like for me, my cooking skill is so low that like pasta is actually diversity to like my cooking repertoire, because like before, like Ben knows, but like all I cook is just like rice, like meat that's frozen, that's like packaged by my parents, and like they just give me a lot whenever like at the beginning of the semester or whenever they visit, and like broccoli or like
bell peppers.
bell peppers. Yes, those are the main ones. I used to cook asparagus too, but then literally like I just like, it's like an assembly line. I just like concatenate those 3 items together, and that's my dinner. And sometimes I like boil dumplings for lunch. But then like when I finally started like adding like pasta or whatever, not that it's difficult. Like you just shove the thing, you just drop like a bunch of strands in like a boiling pot of water. But I was like, wow, I have another dish in my arsenal. And I felt proud of myself. And then someone like the next day was just like, yeah, I want to learn to cook better so I don't have to cook pasta for the rest of my life. And I was just like, oof, I'm behind.
Dude, it's a journey. It's like, no, I remember someone talking about art, and they said like they had 2 pictures. It was like, one was like this like terrible like kid's doodle, and the other one was like the Mona Lisa. And then the guy was basically saying like every single like drawing you do is one closer to the Mona Lisa. And, like that's just how it is, you know. And I honestly see that. It's not like a switch suddenly flips and you're Gordon Ramsay, you know, because you read some books and suddenly, oh, you know, you memorize these recipes, you know, you can just put it together. No, I think it's one dish at a time. Like you add it to your tool belt, kind of.
For sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But also an interesting thing. So I took several nutrition courses in college, and one of the interesting things is they played this video, and it was talking about like it was like explaining the diet of like Japanese people, in particular, like the Japanese centurion like population, because there's like a surprising number of Japanese centurions, and basically they're talking about one of the aspects of their long life is their diet, and it's not just like what they're eating in particular. It's like also like when they feel full, because like one interesting thing about digestion and like the hormones that go into play is like you feel hungry, right? And then so you consume. And when you feel full, like that's when you're like actually 80% full. And that's why a lot of people can eat past feeling full, is because like the feeling of fullness doesn't occur at 100%. And so we're talking about how like in Japan, one of the factors that plays into the lifespan is that they stop when they feel full because they know their body has reached like the optimal amount of food they should consume. And I thought that was super interesting.
I see that. It's so weird though. It's just like, hey, you know, they're living healthy lives because they're listening to their bodies, and you know, it's like it's so weird. Everyone's like, oh, I didn't think of that, you know. But I mean, you know, of course, it's baked in. You know, it's you know, that's a very base kind of function, but we don't think about it. You know, I've definitely heard that kind of thing. Like, you know, like a tip some people give for losing weight is like just eat slower. Like you might like you might usually like eat too fast and kind of like sort of outpace your body, and then by the time it says you're full, you already eat more, you know. Or like or that's something I noticed because like I kind of fast, and usually I eat alone too. So like I'm just going, you know, but like if I'm just, you know, sitting with friends or something, like I'm talking so much and I eat way slower. But then yeah, I realized, oh, that's a pretty good method. You know, that's a natural way to slow down when I'm eating. And sort of, yeah, wait, like let my body say, oh, you know, am I full yet? You know.
Also, another thing that I noticed, this is not to flame Alex because he's like a better cook than I am. Because I haven't even started my step along that journey, which I probably should because I'm already graduated at this point. But anyway, so this is something I noticed is that people's diets sometimes don't match, or I mean, their appetite doesn't really match their physique or like anything. Like Alex and like another friend of ours, they're both like, you know, they don't look like the appetite that they actually have. And like conversely with me, like people would think I eat a lot. I eat half of what Alex eats.
I mean, honestly, I feel like a huge thing, like ever since kind of like being interested in like working out and interested in like, you know, like I guess bodybuilding, like trying to look like better specifically, not necessarily being stronger muscle wise, but just having bigger muscles. Like, I mean, yeah, honestly, like if you're talking about competing in bodybuilding, everyone is basically like naked, like they're just in their underwear. Women are in like bikinis, guys are in speedos, you know. It's like you can't hide a thing, you know. And I honestly have noticed though, like it's really interesting. Like you see people competing like on stage, like what they look like versus like just typically with clothes on. Like it's a pretty big difference. I was like, oh, you can hide a good amount. Like you know, I might not even necessarily like call this guy a bodybuilder if I just saw him normally, but like him on stage, he looks super ripped. And yeah, I think that's something I kind of noticed too. It's like yeah, you know, if you just wear like hoodies and loose clothes all the time, no one can tell you gain 10 pounds. Yeah, or like, or actually no, there was a class I took about like treating people with psychological disorders, and then we had a unit on like eating disorders, specifically like anorexia. And it was really interesting seeing like yeah, like one girl, like her memoir basically talking about experience like living with it. And yeah, she basically said like people always ask me how I was so skinny, and you know, she basically like purged, like forced herself to throw up, yeah, so she wouldn't basically get those calories. But then like yeah, but she mentioned like in the memoir, like some people could have guessed because there's no way you can get that skinny, like the weight doesn't just disappear, you know. And I was like, that's a good point. So I guess other way around, if you're eating a lot, like it might not be showing that obviously because you always have, you know, a shirt on or you always have like a hoodie on, but it's definitely there somewhere, you know. That's yeah, you can't outrun I guess is it physics? I guess. I don't know. Like you know, your body doesn't just yeah, shave it off or anything.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is multiple surprise because like I'm like pretty small. I'm like 5'2", so like they think like I don't know if they like equate me to like a small Asian girl, but they think my appetite should be probably similar to that. And like with Ben, he's like a seemingly fit, 5'11", like Asian guy. They're like, oh, like he probably can eat a lot. And same with like the friend he's talking about. Like guys like seen as pretty skinny, so they're like, oh, he probably can't eat that much. But yeah, I guess we're not always at the beach, so you can't see what's underneath.
Dude, yeah, honestly. Like, I guess that can be good or bad. Like, good if you're gaining a little weight. Honestly, people probably won't notice that fast. But yeah, if you're trying to look really good, and you always have a shirt on, your work doesn't always show that much.
Honestly, I feel like I've noticed like a lot of people gain weight. Like for my guy friends, like just gain weight through college. Like, because sometimes like because I know if it's like super windy and stuff like that, then like your shirt will like stick to like your body, and like I can see like the roll of fat, and I'm like, yeah, it's interesting because usually when I see them, I'm just like, oh, they just look like normal, and or like if I see them like wear something nice, like usually if you're wearing like a button up or like button down, like it's not like as obvious about like your weight. So I was like, I guess it's normal to be out of shape.
The dad bod, bro. That's the real move.
Dude, no, that's actually like that's what I'm trying to avoid. No, I thought about it and I was like, I'm trying to become a DILF. Like that's really my goal.
DILF.
Yeah, and I was like, people clown on it, but I'm just like, hey, I'm trying to avoid the dad bod. Like it's weird. I think I'm honestly like in the best shape of my life. Yeah, because like through high school and stuff, I was pretty overweight. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's pretty normal to get out of shape because like once you're out of college, you don't have as much free time. You're just like working or like you feel stressed, and then like you just feel tired and you just don't have the time to go to the gym or like, maybe eat properly.
Right. No, for sure. No, I saw it was the funniest thing. It was like it kind of like it was more a statement on like the kind of people of the subculture, but it was like some like Linux convention or something like that, some like programmer convention, and this guy was looking at like the amount of T-shirt orders, like comparing the years, and you could basically see a trend over time. Like there are more large and extra large orders over time. It's like okay, everyone's getting fatter, and I was like, yep, that's normal. That's normal.
Also, back to what Alex was saying earlier, now that I think about it, he's right. Like, I feel like with males, it's a lot easier to hide your weight as opposed to female, where there's a lot more prevalence on, like, for example, showing your midriff, like wearing tight clothing, like stuff like that. And I was like, huh. So
girls,
I feel like it plays into why females have like body insecurity.
Yeah. I feel like girls, sorry, this is like not, it's just a quick side note. I feel like girls kind of can try to hide it by like wearing like high waist like, pants, or like it covers like their belly button or whatever. So
But still, like I think in general they have less leeway than males.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's also just like societally, it's just like even if you know the guy's overweight, like a lot of people just don't. They're not as expected to, right? Like for a lot of guys, like it's okay if they don't have good skin. For girls, it's expected that they need to have flawless skin and stuff like that, and like be under like a certain weight. So yeah, it is really unfortunate. It does suck for them.
Yeah. But back to Nolan, actually, what made you want to pursue bodybuilding as opposed to like powerlifting or just like normal lifting for just like fitness?
I think, I mean, I guess if you use terms like that, like bodybuilding, powerlifting, like people might get the wrong idea. Like I'm not trying to compete or anything like that. I'm not trying to get on stage, or I'm not trying to go to like a powerlifting meet. But yeah, I think some people do kind of gatekeep like that. But yeah, I think in general though, like, yeah, of course, like I think like most guys are just like people just, maybe your friends just say, oh, you should go lift, like, oh, why not get get big, get huge or whatever. And so everyone just kind of thinks that way, like, oh, just lift weights and kind of it'll happen. But I guess like some people do kind of like, maybe I guess personally, like I'm interested in seeing the numbers raised. Like, and I guess like sort of by definition, that's like powerlifting. Like it's just, you know, three main like lifts, like bench, deadlift, and squat. But yeah, you're getting the number as high as possible for one rep. And like I kind of like that part, but then I thought about it and I was just like, you know, how strong do you really need to be practically? Like I guess I could be like, I don't know, like a firefighter, like first responder, you know, like I could be the guy who like freaking, you know, I don't know, like you know, like stops a mass shooting or something, you know, and I'm ready, you know, I'm a weapon, you know.
Tom Cruise.
But like I'm just like I don't think that's really necessary. Then I'm like, okay, how strong do I need to be every day? Like, okay, you know, I can help someone move pretty easily. I think I'm strong enough, you know. Yeah, and honestly, that's the metric I have. So then I was like, okay, well then I guess why would I continue? Like, it's kind of like, well, I mean, it's nice to see numbers raised, but you know, kind of like, you know, maybe there's another goal I can kind of go for. And then I was thinking like, oh yeah, also, you know, plenty of people lift weights to look better, like gain muscle in the right spots, basically. And then I was like, yeah, lifting for my physique. I mean, I guess you can kind of just call it bodybuilding. But then I was like, okay, yeah, I suppose this is more what I'm going for. Yeah.
Yeah. Any tips?
Well, I guess for like newbies, yeah, like consistency will do you way better than having the right program and stuff. Yeah, I know. Actually, I would suggest just try having fun. Just make sure it's fun to go to the gym. You know, go with a friend or something. But yeah, consistency is huge. Like, yeah, I think it's really easy, especially for beginners, to get like, or I've seen on Reddit a lot. Like, so many like beginners to lifting are just concerned, which program should I do? Is this better than this? You know, should I be doing whatever, like starting strength, strong lifts? Those are really common programs people talk about. And they're like, or is there something better? And yeah, so many people are just saying like, you know, back in the day, like these didn't even exist. People just went to the gym, you know, and then after a year, then you can maybe say, okay, maybe we'll go for a specialized program. Or maybe even after like 2 years or something. I know some people define like beginner in very different spots. They might say like, you know, after like a month or so, you're no longer a beginner. Or some people say like, you need to squat double your body weight and then you're no longer a beginner. And I'm just like, wow. Yeah, like everyone kind of, you know, draws the line differently. And then I guess sort of in response, they also kind of recommend programs to change to at different times. Yeah, but in general, I'd say don't worry about the program too much. I'd say like maybe look up one if you have no idea what you're doing, just to make sure like, yeah, your technique is good. And yeah, and I guess like you're sort of working sort of efficiently. Like a lot of what I'd like to do is with barbell, like squatting, benching and stuff. Like it's nice because they just use a lot of muscles. So yeah, you're kind of just getting good bang for your buck in terms of time. Like you don't have to like, I would suggest learning barbell stuff over machines. And yeah, just be consistent. Just, you know, 3 times a week. You know, that's all it is. Or and like, you know, and then you can say like after a year, say like, okay, now what? Yeah.
I think that's a good like general advice you can give to like just getting into like a hobby or anything, because I think a lot of times, like I'm guilty of this too. It's just like I think there's a lot of focus on like doing it quote unquote the right way or like following a formula, but I think like when you do that, it really kills the joy out of like getting into it. Like something like I remember me and Ben had to go through when we were starting this podcast was like, what is the right way to do a podcast, you know? Because I think a lot of people kind of ask like, what's your like general subject, or like why don't you do this and that like this other podcast? And then I think part of me was like, oh, maybe we should do it, right? But then honestly at the end of the day, it's just like when you're doing something like it's really just for fun. And like you should just enjoy it. And then like I think it comes naturally like what is good for the podcast is like what are you guys like what are like the hosts like more comfortable with. Because I know for a lot of things like whenever people get into like the arts or something, like I had a friend who was like considering getting into like producing music and stuff like that. I know a lot of big concern is like subscribers versus like how much like exposure versus like how much like am I just doing it for myself. And I think that's just like another big thing that like I think people like should I guess be aware about. It's just like it's okay if like you're not following like this like path that's like been set out for you, or like you're not like getting I guess like these hard numerical results, because I think at the end of the day it's just important to have fun.
Yeah, no, I see that. I remember I saw one guy talking about his YouTube channel, and he was saying like, yeah, he was like, I was so concerned about like, what should I like? Basically, he had a conversation with a friend, and he was talking about his YouTube channel, and he kind of brought up like, I'm not sure what the right move is in terms of like, what the like for the channel. And then yeah, and then his friend was basically like trying to slap some sense into him. He was just saying like, if you feel like this is important to talk about, you should just talk about it. Yeah, like it doesn't really matter if it's not the optimal video or something. Yeah, and then one thing the owner of the channel kind of ended up walking away with, he's like, whenever I post a video, I don't look at it for 2 days. He's like, it's so easy for me to just check the comments and see what people are saying and like things like that. It's kind of like, I guess, affirm, but also like yeah, try and optimize. But yeah, he was like, now like I try, just don't even touch it. Like for 2 days at least. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Like it's basically just saying like, caring more about what it like, I don't know, I guess like making the video instead of what the video does for you, kind of like popularity wise, like numbers wise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something me and Alex experience on a very small scale with this podcast, but just in general, listening to YouTubers talk about it, like a lot of people get really worked up about the numbers game. Like, especially have you ever heard of the site Social Blade?
Yes, they keep track of the subscribers, right?
Yeah, that's basically all it does. And it's like, people get super, super worked up about like, oh, I have to be gaining subscribers all the time, like I have to always be getting like upwards trend, like otherwise I'm like losing out on money, this, that. Like people get really, really into it. And there's like, I remember I was watching YouTuber, there's like whole discords and like chats about like what's trendy, what's not, like what should I do to maximize my views? What should I talk about? Like stuff like that. And you can get really lost in the game. And it's like really unfortunate to see people like go from like, they're so passionate to just like, they're so soulless.
Oh yeah. No, I that reminds me of this channel I used to watch for like video games. This guy used to play like Battlefield games, and it was like super like, I mean, it started out like no one had high production value. He was just like playing on his PS3 and yeah, just giving commentary and post, and super rough, no intros or anything like that. And I just thought he was like super funny. Like he made so many like weird jokes and stuff, and I just loved his personality. And like he made me want to start playing Battlefield games. Yeah, but then I think I just took some time off, like away from his channel, and then I came back kind of recently just to check it out. And like not only has he like switched games, he basically just plays like whatever's like new and trendy. But like his like yeah, like his titles are always like all caps and like clickbaitish. And like yeah, and like the thumbnails literally have like a rainbow in the back to be like the most noticeable possible. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, what happened to you, dog?
Dude,
Yeah.
money.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess he sold out because I remember him saying like, or no, some of his videos were straight up sponsored by like big companies like EA or something, and they like flew him out for events and whatnot. So I was like, okay, like it must be pretty good money. Like I guess he thinks it's worth it. Yeah, but I was like, man, like it doesn't have the soul. Yeah.
That's another thing I noticed about like YouTube life, celebrity life, just like all that stuff. Like people kind of glamorize it, but it's like, dude, it's really not that good. You're working all the time, really. Because like everything you say or do can be considered part of work because people will criticize you all the time. You don't get off days or hours. Like, for example, if you're a celebrity, everything you say or do is public forum. And that's like crazy. And people are like, oh, it's no work to be a celebrity. I want to be a celebrity. It's like, that's like the wrong, like 9 to 5 is already tough, but you're working 24/7.
Right. No, I remember hearing about like K-pop stars. Like if they're in like boy or girl groups, like they're meant to have like certain personalities. Like you basically have a public persona. Or sometimes like you might even like be asked to date like someone from another group, like because it makes like drama and stuff. And I'm just like, that's insane. Like that's really insane. Like you can't even be yourself. Yeah. And if you're a celebrity, you're on the clock. Like, anytime like, you're out in public at all. People can have cameras pointed at you. And I was like, that's actually like so much pressure. I mean, not to say like the pressure of being trained very intensely from like 10 years old and whatnot, and having to learn how to sing and dance and having your appearance judged and everything like that is already a lot of pressure. But yeah, I was like, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually something that me and Alex were talking about recently is like the idea of celebrity life in West versus East. This is just a very common thing that we like to compare. It's not to make any generalizations, but like I was listening to this J-pop song and it was basically sung in English and it was talking about like how idol life in Asia is like super, super bad, especially nowadays because K-pop is so globalized, right? So like before K-pop was super big, like all the Asian countries sort of had like their own music markets, right? With Korean being like pretty big, but it's not like dominating, right? And so what ends up happening is that nowadays, because it's so big and it's like the most recognizable Asian market, everything is like sort of like narrowed in towards Korea. Like all of the Asian countries want their like talented singers to go be an idol in K-pop because that's way better than staying in their own country, right? And so like everything is pushed towards these like massive entertainment companies in Korea. And so what ends up happening is like, as you said, you're trained from you're very young. Everything is sort of planned out. You're basically a manufactured human. And it's like you become so dehumanized because the work culture in the East is super intense. Like you're basically working so much and you don't really have much of your time to dedicate to like a family or just like your own things, but you can dedicate it to like these types of like idols, right? Because they don't have like a lot of agency of their own and they don't really take as much time as like starting up a family, right? And so these idols are sort of like pinned as like this song was basically talking about how idols are pinned as wish fulfillment for the like people. And it's just like it's really crazy because then it makes a lot more sense why they're manufactured, why they're so managed. They're like over managed and like a lot of everything about them is like controlled. And it's because like as soon as you break the illusion, then suddenly the Korean or not even just Korean, like the Asian sort of like overmind just like blows up at them and they like get like super mad over small things because as soon as you break the illusion of wish fulfillment, it's just not there anymore.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I definitely see what you talk about with like the kind of wish fulfillment part. Like I know it's like it's been a meme. Like the biggest fans of like these idol groups are like businessmen, you know. Um, yeah, no, but I also kind of see what you're talking about. Like there is a huge like kind of image that needs to be, or like a facade that has to be kept up, like a masquerade. You know, everyone's kind of in on it, and everyone's pretending it is kind of real. Or I guess, yeah, everyone either like is pretending it's real or doesn't even know that it's fake and just thinks that it's real. And it's just yeah, it is crazy because that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I remember there were some stories like some months ago about like it was big like a couple sort of big like K-pop stars like committing suicide. And it's like I was like that's super serious. Like that's no joke, you know. And yeah, I'm like man, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you know I'm just hearing the echoes of that friend you mentioned. Like, oh, I'd love to be a celebrity. I'm just like, man, like that's not for me, you know.
For sure. I think what's like really sad is that, like, despite like their fame, I think a lot of people, I guess they want the fame because they think it'll give them like adoration and respects. But I think even then, it's just like the insecurities that you may have before you become a celebrity, like it doesn't go away, right? Like that's the reason why like so many, I guess like a couple of high profile like K-pop stars or whatever or celebrities have like taken their life. But like something else I've been kind of thinking about is like I think with also like I mean, you have touched upon it, but like the fact that like you like have celebrity worship, like you expect them to be role models, right? And that they don't, like fit like your image of what a role model should be, then like you're, begin to like cancel culture and stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, like, they weren't always perfect. Like they may have tweeted something bad like a couple of years ago and something like that. And then it gets, they dig it up and then like the guy's career is over basically. And I feel like there's a lot of cases where like someone hears like, oh, this person is like running like for office or like they got promoted to something, and then people are like, we have to dig up the tweets so like we can end this guy's career. And I feel like this is like a super toxic like manifestation of um like celebrity worship, because like yes, like the person said something bad, but it's almost like I feel like it's usually the same people who preach like forgiveness and like we need to be more understanding of each other. It's almost like they don't believe like in the own message they're sending.
I
No,
agree.
yeah, I sorry, you go.
Oh, You go. I was just saying I agree.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I definitely see what you're talking about. Like, I remember it was a meme ever since we were like young. It's like, oh, you know, you can never run for political office because people have dirt on you or something. Like, yeah, and I see that. Like, yeah, for sure. It seems weird. It's kind of just like people kind of, or I guess the public in general has maybe unrealistic expectations about, you know, public figures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm just kind of like, it is weird. Like, can you really like slam someone if you haven't said like anything like maybe offensive by accident, or you know, or like said something really cringy or something, or I don't know. Like, I guess it's hard because we're pretty young, you know. I can't really say I've had a, you know, bad divorces or you know, hired hits on people I know or anything like that. But yeah, but I mean, I guess like, you know, I remember thinking a lot about like in the RSO I was part of in college, it was pretty often I guess maybe like sophomores and juniors would kind of just say like, oh man, like I hate that guy, like talking about a freshman. That kind of thing would happen a lot, just saying like, man, this guy's like, these kids, like, they're just freaking stupid. Like, they stay up, like, pulling all-nighter every week, like, ordering Jimmy John's every single night. What are they even doing? And then it's always hard, like, because I agree, like, sometimes, and honestly, sometimes they do make me mad because they're super loud. But I'm just like, man, you know, I wasn't really that much better as a freshman. Like, you know, I gotta, you know, I don't know, like, what they're doing isn't good, but I kind of have to concede, like, I'm no better, really. Yeah, and I don't think you were either, kind of talking to them. And yeah, but it is tough because I could imagine, you know, someone in kind of like a higher position, yeah, someone in leadership in an organization like that, you know, something happens like, you know, oh, this guy was a cringy freshman, like, you know, let's throw tomatoes at him, you know, whatever. Like that kind of thing happens. I mean, like kind of like in more extreme versions, that happens a lot. You know, like Alex mentioned, people lose their, like, they end their careers because of something they tweeted years ago. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like the biggest one was like I remember like James Gunn, the director of like Guardians of the Galaxy, like they removed them from like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of like I don't remember what he tweeted, but it was like it was bad, but I think he already apologized for it before, but then it wasn't enough. So they removed them, but then they rehired them because there was like counter backlash because people were just like, yeah. I feel like a lot of times when like you get really particular about certain movements or like how you're like protesting that like it can rub off, it can turn other people like the wrong way. Like I remember reading like the reason why the 1980s were so conservative is because like there was backlash to counterculture in the 1960s. So people are just like, we've had enough. Like I don't want to do anything with like protesting, and then it literally swung like the complete opposite pendulum. So I think we're swinging back right now. But
Yeah, I've heard that kind of thing happens where it's kind of like yeah, trust in authority and kind of like distrust of authority is, yeah, like it goes in waves.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, but that reminds me a lot of like what was it? What was it? Oh, you mentioned like James Gunn and stuff. Like, oh, man, actually, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh,
I actually have
whatever.
something about like trust and authority versus no trust. Like currently there is like no trust in authority. And like Anonymous, do you know who Anonymous is?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I've heard of them.
Yeah, the like Anonymous We Are Legion, like BS from like way back old YouTube.
Yeah, the hacker group or whatever. Or yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
one
So
hacker.
now apparently they're back. And I just remember us reading comments about it. And then a lot of the comments are talking about, I like how we trust Anonymous more than we trust the government. I was like, that's kind of crazy because like I don't trust this guy. And I was like, this is just like another like weird story thread that's up in the air in 2020.
It's crazy. Everyone's, you know, all the, you know, it's like a good story. All the old characters are coming back for the end.
All like old characters are coming back. It's dang, it's really the final arc. The
It's
Yeah, like
Infinity War, baby.
one of the most liked comments on that video was like, this is the middle part of the movie where the plot twists start happening. And I was like, this is only the middle of the movie.
do y'all think it does feel like a lot of stuff has been happening in 2020? But do you think part of it has to do with the fact that like social media and like information is just so easily spread. Because I remember like reading one thing was like JFK, he had, and like FDR, they both had a lot of like illnesses. But like the media kind of had a pact to like not share it, not post about it because they didn't want to like make the president look bad. None of that shit would happen today, you know. Even if like there's a pact of some journalists who make it, there's definitely like some people who are just gonna be like, yeah, we're definitely posting this because it'll make clicks, you know. Like I think regardless of like who the president is, like if there's dirt, they'll definitely post it because they want views, you know.
Like another really interesting thing is back then, trust in government was so high. Like if the government said something, people would follow it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, yeah, it's like what is it? I remember US history, you know, talking about Watergate and whatnot. Yeah, suddenly like trust in like American government at least like really went down among the American public. And yeah, I can imagine like what is it? Things like what is it? WikiLeaks, the Panama Papers, stuff like that. You know, yeah, people are just like, I mean, nowadays they're not even surprised. They're like, oh, this they put someone in office did something bad, like add it to the pile. You know, what's new?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly I feel like I've become so desensitized too. I'm kind of like, if you want to be, I'm almost kind of like, if you want to be like considered great or you go down in history, like you have to have done some bad shit, you know. Same with like if you want to be a billionaire. Yeah, I know like the U.S. has done a lot of like crimes in like other countries. Like they've like overthrown governments and like put like, you know, like democracies, but like it's really, they still commit like a lot of human rights violations.
The Gulf War.
Yeah, and then if you read into like what other like superpowers have done, you're just like, well, it seems like it's part of the process.
No
So in
one's
reality,
perfect.
yeah. I think it's weird because a lot of people, I think some people are like, we want the U.S. to like kind of be like the global police, right? We want them to like stand for justice and stuff like that. Then other people are kind of like, oh, like I would prefer for the U.S. to like just mind its own business. But then like it really fluctuates whenever I think they see a cause that they care about, and like why isn't our country saying anything? But then, you know, when they do, it's like, oh, like it's too much. Like we need to like keep to ourselves. Like I feel like I definitely been seeing a lot of like isolationist movements going on right now in the US. But then there's also like, it's like really difficult because like we live in the like a globalism era. So part of me is just kind of like, I don't really know like what to like think or feel about what is the right move or not, right? Because it's like you want to stay interconnected, but you don't want to be too into people's business. But you also don't want to, I feel like if you withdraw yourself, like we're at the point where like we're connected to so many like other like nations that like you're hurting them in some way.
Speaking of connection via social media, on a more individual basis, I think it connects us to other people way too deeply in the sense that like I feel like a lot of people are prone to oversharing. Like I really don't like the idea behind like it's okay to like broadcast your relationship status, right? It's okay that people know that you're in one, right? But you don't need to constantly remind people of like various things. And it feels like it's a lot of attention grabbing rather than actual life updates, you know? And I think it's that like that's when you get to the oversharing part of like social media, and it like puts your life too much in public forum, especially when you're not a celebrity. Like when you're like us and you know people that like broadcast about like their relationships, about their like their issues. Like a really common thing that I dislike is the idea of a Finsta or like a fake Instagram. Like I don't think you should be broadcasting like your problems.
I know for some people that's how they feel like they can be vulnerable with their friends, you know, because it's like their backlash to the fact that everything has to be like, you know, like how Instagram or social media is all like the glamorous moments of life, like it's like all the post photos stuff like that. So for them, they're just like, I want to I don't know, I guess like I want to like be myself, you know. But usually for whatever reason, like it's just the negative side of themselves, you know. It's like it's them venting a lot. Whether it's like an unrequited love or like, you know, shit talking somebody behind their back. Which like kind of makes me think just like about society in of itself, that like it almost makes it like seem like that our true selves are like the very worst in of ourselves, you know, and it's kind of sad.
You know, I think that's huge. Like, you know, you can't talk about yeah, you can't separate social media from like image and like the fact that people care about it. To have a good or to have a good social media is to be presenting like a good image of yourself. Um, yeah, so like yeah, it is weird. I guess like people are sort of way too into it. But yeah, I mean, I guess that is kind of like they care a lot more about their image than other people do. Like, I mean, I'm talking about like the detriments of social media though. Like, I mean, I guess not only is it sometimes just oversharing and makes things awkward with friends, but I think at its worst, I remember hearing people like they share that they're out of the house and then someone breaks into their house. I'm like, you got played, bro. It's like, it's like people talk about like Amazon Alexa and stuff. Like, it's basically just gathering your data. Like, all it does is Google things for you and buy stuff for you, and it gets to sit there listening to everything. Yeah, and like I think some talk about like Amazon Alexa files being accessed because there was a murder that happened in the same room or something. And it's like, okay, clearly, like, well, I guess that shows a good example of how data can be used, but they're just gathering a ton of data. And I'm like, I thought about it. I was like, that's what phones are, It's a GPS, it's a camera, it's a microphone. Like, you're just holding on you. Like, if something were to happen and like, you become an enemy of the state, like Edward Snowden, like, you're basically screwed because you already have a locator on you or whatever.
This kind of reminds me of like a tweet I saw. Like, they were protesting the government, which was like fine because it was the midst of like the George Floyd murder, and then they're kind of like trying to argue that like there's no more like freedom of speech, stuff like that. And like she was like, yeah, I joked about killing Donald Trump and the FBI showed up. And I was like, I mean, you can't joke about that stuff because like if someone actually says it and then they do it, then like they're gonna look like fools for not doing anything. But they're like, it was clearly a joke. And then yeah, sometimes I'm like, I don't know where I was going with this, but all I remember is like I feel like sometimes people think that like whatever they say on like social media, um, it's like a weird thing where they're just like it should have consequences, but it shouldn't have consequences. Like you should be able to discern if I'm joking or not, and then it's really hard. So like honestly, the solution is just don't post your personal thoughts on social media. Like don't overshare.
Right. Yeah, like I think a really interesting thing is like the idea of freedom of speech. Right? I feel like people have really misconstrued ideas about the freedom of speech. Like you can't say anything you want. There are things that are barred that you are not allowed to say. Like, for example, like instigatory speech and like slander, or not slander, what is it? Libel, or like illegal. Like you just can't say that shit. And that's not like targeting your freedom of speech. That's just against the law. Like you're not allowed to say anything you want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's weird. I remember some people talking about the Constitution. They were just like, these were rules made for like a completely different society, hundreds of years ago. Like, do they really apply perfectly? Do you really want to say we need to follow this document to a T? Yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I guess I don't really have a super sort of firm stance either side, but I'm like, I can kind of see that. Like things aren't perfect. I mean, of course, a ton of kind of buzz has come up about what is it like I don't deserve to be an American citizen. The right to bear arms. Is that yeah, like anyways. But then yeah, it's like kind of arguably like, is it is that, does that really apply the same like when you have automatic weapons in 2020? And I was like, well, I guess that's a good point. I can see, maybe it's to interpret literally might be losing, you might be following the like sort of the rule of the law, but losing like the spirit of the law.
Yeah, I think that's like for like a lot of things too, right? Like even the modern documents, just like a lot of legalists are like really strict on like we have to follow this to a T. But it's just like you can be reasonable about stuff, right? Yeah, I remember learning in history that like the founding fathers were like, yeah, we want amendments because we know no law will be perfect, especially over time, right? Like that's why they rebelled from like Britain or whatever. So it's kind of funny to see, like old white Republicans who are just like, it's the Constitution, this is the most sacred thing in the world, and if you break it, you're going to jail. And I'm like, well, I wonder what the founding fathers would actually say.
Dude, no, yeah, I'm like, dude, if George Washington were back, he'd be like, I'm starting another country.
Yeah, like another revolution. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think, like what we were kind of talking about, like kind of goes back to like cancel culture, right? Because like, I think initially, yeah, I was kind of thinking about how like it sucks that like if you tweet something in the past, people find it, you get canceled. But then again, like it does like make sense that like I guess like your actions like have consequences that like we don't expect. But maybe sometimes it might be, too extreme.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think cancel culture. I've voiced the opinion many times, probably on this podcast many times now, but like I just can't stand cancel culture because like the end result is like not a great deal of like what you actually wanted. Like, like for example, here, let's think of something. James Charles. This is a semi-recent situation. He was a beauty YouTuber. And basically what happened was like there was some drama between him and some other beauty YouTuber. And the other beauty YouTuber said like, oh, you're lying, And everyone believed her. And what ended up happening is a lot of people unsubscribed from James Charles. They all canceled him. And then the part that was like really bad is that people started making up false stories about him. And because there was such a huge wave of like anti James Charles, they just believed it to be true when no basis at all. And then he like quote unquote clapped back by like saying that like this is false, this is false, this is false because of like X, Y, and Z, right? And the end result is that nothing happened. And like even if like he wasn't able to defend himself, it would have blown over in like 2 weeks to a month, Like it's just so like I don't want to say it's useless because speaking out against like bad things is like you should be able to do that, right? But it feels like this movement, like just any of these types of movements do nothing.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. It's just kind of like, oh, I don't know, like it's like, oh, this guy's bad. Let's like ruin his life or his career or something. And then I don't know, like in the end, it's kind of like, I mean, I guess, when it comes to something like a YouTuber, they can gain their subscribers back. It's just a matter of time, really. But yeah, but I guess then the question is sort of like, what change did you actually want to happen? Um, you know, and like instead you just destroy this person's income. Like, do you feel good? Like everyone, you just raised an angry mob.
I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
see that.
I feel like you're also just creating like a conspiracy amongst the people who are opposed to you, Um, like typically it's like there's like more progressive people who are seen to be doing cancel culture, and then there's like conservatives who are just like I guess on the opposite side. And I feel like what usually happens is like conservatives are like, oh, like I can add this to the list of wrongs that have happened, and then like they create like this completely false like reality in their heads that like, oh, like we're being oppressed, but then like what it does is just like they will shut out like any like further like reasonable arguments about like, oh hey, like maybe like it's more helpful if like like we have a dialogue about like this issue or whatever. Like what ends up happening is just like it becomes super polarized and like, oh, this is my enemy, like whatever they say, it doesn't matter because like they don't see me as human and I don't see them as human, and it becomes like a war. And like I just feel like I don't know, like I don't really know if I guess in recent like events, like I don't know if like peaceful protest like does anything or like helpful dialogue does anything, but like I like to think it does, um like I like to think that like because I know at least for myself and like some others I know, just like if you yell at them, like their instinct isn't gonna be, oh, like you're right, I will just stop what I'm doing. That takes a lot of self-control. Their instinct is to be defensive and just be like, you know what, I'm just not gonna talk to you anymore, B, I'm gonna fight back even stronger. So yeah, I think it's a long, obviously I'm not obviously I think for like personal differences and stuff like that, I don't want to get into like broader movements, but I think for personal differences, like it takes a lot of time to like truly reconcile and like empathize with like other people.
Yeah, I think like a huge thing is that like people like especially nowadays with like being anonymous online, you can sort of just like argue with people whatever you want. There's no accountability for what you're saying, especially in real life. A lot of people won't exactly like say it as harshly as they do online, simply because there's that wall of the internet. But it's just like, in general, like people's opinions have become like increasingly more polarizing over time. Like nowadays, like you want to paint the person as the enemy rather than just another human. And like this goes back to like a psychological thing called like the ultimate attribution error, which is like when something bad happens to you because of another person, you attribute it to their disposition rather than their circumstance. And it's like a lot of people see like their quote unquote enemy as less than human. They're like, oh, they're just like a person we can bash. They're not even a person, they're just something we can bash, as opposed to like an actual person with like thoughts, you know?
Yeah, I see that for sure. Like when it comes to arguments, you know, it is easy to just kind of assume the worst and yeah, dehumanize people. It's really weird though, because it's just kind of like, yeah, like I remember having a moment to think about something like that. Like, man, I like someone in undergrad, like I'm just like, man, I hate this guy, you know, or like, you know, so often people have that kind of like thinking, like this person sucks. Like I don't even understand, like, you know, like, are you even a human being, you know, or like really questioning their values and whatnot. And then but it's just weird because if you kind of like step back, you think about it, it's like, you know, this is a human being, you know, who has hobbies and passions and has a family and has friends and wants to live a happy life and, you know, is doing the same thing, paying off student debt like you or whatever. I'm just like, huh, that's really weird, but it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah. And like,
justification is like, oh, they don't see me as human, so like, why do I have to see them back? But then I guess sometimes like I'm just kind of thinking about like, I mean, I feel like that's just like a constant, like a ping pong battle, you know? Like the harder you strike, the harder you hit the ball back, the next person is gonna have to hit the ball back even harder in order for like them to like not lose the game. And then yeah, I just feel like it just escalates.
yeah, and like not to take like a moral high ground or anything, because I'm definitely guilty of this. Like when I play League, like sometimes I see like my random teammates make a dumb play. I'm like, is this guy even human? Like, what is he?
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, like I think games are a nice like a small like look into what society looks like as a whole. Because like games are, I feel like, bring out the worst in people. Like people become extremely toxic when they're playing like these competitive games. And when I'm talking about like games that are like team based, like League of Legends or like CS:GO or like things that aren't skill based, right? Because you have nothing to blame. Like when you're playing a 1v1 game like Smash or something, you have no one to blame but yourself. You lose because you suck or you're worse than another person, right? But then when you have a team, you can go fucking flame them. And then like when you flame these people, a lot of people don't realize they're flaming another person. They're not flaming like a bot, you know? And that's like, I feel like something that a lot of people get lost in like the heat of the moment. They're like angry that like something didn't go their way. They're like, you know what, this other guy's a fucker, you know, like he made me get fucked or like whatever. Like it's not my fault, it's their fault. And I feel like that's since games like provide like a mini microcosm of like human society, like I think it's so common to just want to blame something that isn't you, regardless of whether you are the problem.
Mm. I think also the big thing is that like people aren't like as black and white as like they seem, even if like, you know, even if like you really don't like them, because like I think a common thing is just like a lot of people say was like, oh, like I can't believe this person would like kill all those people. He was so nice to me, or like I can't believe like it's like the phrase like, oh, I have like black friends or X, Y, like gay friends or whatever, because like, you know, like they can come up as nice, right? Like people are like multifaceted, you know, and like this may not be like a pleasant example of that, but like, you know, I feel like people can like, as I'm like, people can have like multiple sides to them. So like they can be nice and still have these thoughts. Like essentially what I'm trying to say, like people are not, you know, like they're not, people are like walking contradictions, you know, but like that is like, that's just who people are, you know? And yeah, I feel like when you kind of expect people to like, I guess follow like a consistency test in terms of like morality or like character, like every single person is gonna fail that test because like we all have like, you know, contradictory thoughts, or like we tend to like, you know, our beliefs tend to be shaped by our emotions in the moment.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean when you say like, yeah, contradictory thoughts. It's like, yeah, going back to like me eating, I'm just like, I can literally tell myself like, you cannot eat this dessert. or whatever. Like it's not in the program. Like you're not gonna fit it in. Like you know, whatever. Yeah. But then I'm just like, man, like I'm like my brain is saying like, no, don't do it. It makes no sense. But then like other parts of me are just like yes, like you must. Like it's right in front of you. It's just in the fridge or something. And like no, I feel that because I think yeah, like recently I think I've been kind of trying to be more like more disciplined. Like this past semester actually, my roommate he wanted to I guess he got an offer for an internship this summer and but like he kind of like they mentioned the details and basically like he was gonna have to commute pretty far and then they started early so he was like I think I have to wake up at like 5:30 or 6 every morning and he was like okay so perfect like this coming semester I'll try and get more disciplined like let's tack down a sleep schedule like do you want to do this with me like we both sleep at like 10 and wake up at 5 and I was like okay sure why not let's do it and then yeah, like, cause I guess both of us were kind of like homebodies. Like we didn't really hang out late at night. So we were like, oh, this is fine. You know, we can make this work. And, but I think like pretty quickly, like I got really into it. I was like, man, like I'm so productive at like 5 in the morning. Like this is amazing, you know? And I did that the whole semester. It was pretty easy to do. Yeah. And I was like, man, I went to the gym right when it opened and stuff like that. And it was nice. But you know, I think even as much as I'm trying to stay like maintain that at home, like just say like discipline, wake up at the same time, you know, like get plenty done in the morning and whatnot. I'm just like, man, I'm a human being. So that means I have like cravings and I feel like you know maybe stupid irrational emotions and I care about stuff that doesn't matter. And I'm like, man, that's I'm just like, man, I'm you know or even dude even spending time at home like before I got a haircut I was like man I'm more beast than man you know and I'm like I was feeling like the Geico caveman like for real and I was just like man you know humans are kind of gross you know like I guess you know they're inside and outside and but like I definitely kind of you definitely see that too in like everyday life it's just like or especially now like you know like you mentioned in games and kind of within social media and whatnot like nowadays you're seeing the absolute worst of people it's crazy yeah yeah
What's really crazy is that so I recently started watching this YouTube channel called Tier Zoo, and he basically like sort of breaks down like animals and stuff like that into like game terms, right? So he would talk about like it's like you know like fish have like really high water mobility, but like they have like scales and there's like pretty good defense. They have good stealth because they're like in the ocean, the same color as the ocean. They like have low power because they can't like kill stuff like that. He breaks it down into like game terms. And he was talking about humans and how humans are like the most overpowered like animal, right? I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. We kind of rule the earth right now. And he was like talking about how like they went from like the shittiest thing to like the best thing. Because he's like originally, he's like when primates first became like bipedal, he was like, oh, he just got like fucking griefed by like all these different animals and he just got stomped. And then he was like talking about like, but the key difference is that like we had so much intelligence, right? We were able to overcome adversity by like adapting to the situation. Like that's what made us so powerful, as opposed to like, I don't know, like the saber-toothed tiger that like couldn't do what we could do. Like he's like talking about like tool usage is the most overpowered skill because there's like, if you're using a tool against an animal that can't, it's like they auto lose. And so he's like talking about like the small inventions that like got humanity like off the ground. Like for example, like I never even knew this existed. It's like this little thing. It's like a long stick with like a little cup right here, and you put a spear in that cup, and then you throw it like this, and it launches the spear like over double the distance. And that's like the first major invention that like humans used to like hunt, and then like it made them way better than like Neanderthals, and that's why Neanderthals like got hoed. And so, like to get all of this like to bring it back home, it's like humanity has so much potential. It's just that like right now it's not coming out.
I know it's not. Dude, maybe this was our potential to be pieces of shit.
dude no it is crazy though I remember you know thinking about it like just our brains alone are like amazing you know it's amazing like I think a third of our calories go to brain function like it's actually really really insane you know I mean we're capable of a lot it is pretty impressive but yeah I guess it is weird to think about like this is our potential but then you have neats sitting at home just going on the computer all day you know just hating life and not being around other people or doing anything productive and it's crazy you know there are plenty of people like that Yeah, or you have people who are just just capable of causing great disturbance, or killing many people, and yeah, it's kind of insane. Like I guess in a good and bad ways, everything that people are capable of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right
Just
now,
wrap things up because we're hitting that hour mark right now. Um, yeah. So we typically end with like a really easy question. So what do you want to do the most after quarantine ends?
Hmm. That's a really good question. I don't know. I actually went to my local LA Fitness to discuss a gym membership. Yeah, this past week or so, I've been like I like made a spreadsheet. Or actually, no, past couple weeks, I like made a spreadsheet and I was like figuring out like like sort of basically the best deal, and what's close and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess in a way though, like I saw plenty of people there. You like no one was wearing masks or gloves or anything. So you could have fooled me if you told me quarantine was over. Um, I don't know. What is still completely closed? I mean,
Large
haircuts
scale
are open.
events.
Sorry, what? A large scale events.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm I'm a bit of a shut-in. I don't really go to like sports games or anything like that. Like honestly, I don't really have many gatherings of 10 or more, especially back at home. Most of my friends are in Illinois, so yeah, I don't see anyone. So I don't know. I guess I'd be excited for the gym hours to get really good, like opening at 5 a.m. Yeah, because they're not like that yet.
mm, yeah, I know for some people like they like want to travel a lot. Um, Ben and I's graduation trip was
Right.
actually we were I think originally we were supposed to fly like 3 days from now, like of this recording.
I thought we were supposed to be flying today,
Oh really?
June 2nd, right?
Okay. You're right.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that obviously didn't happen because of
Yeah.
um,
Ideally, we would be in the air right now.
dude, honestly like after quarantine, like I kind of just want to like go somewhere in the US, like outside of my town, I just want to eat like food. I just want to go on an eating spree. But yeah. Sorry, I hijacked that question for myself, but it's been on my mind.
Wait. So what Nolan wants is just to have good gym hours.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the. Oh no, well, no, sorry. I was just thinking what I want. I was like, I want my fridge so I can start cooking, but that's not really the quarantine. Yeah, I guess it's just the gym.
I mean, I guess outside of quarantine, your fridge would come faster.
That's the thing, yeah. Because I remember, yeah, like within my neighborhood, my mom was telling me like the houses usually get sold like, oh yeah, like it's the only house on sale right now. So if anyone wants to move into this area because like FISD schools or someone gets a job here, like plenty of people are moving here. She was like it should be quick, and usually like selling a house in this town takes like a month. But she was like, yeah, quarantine.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the little things um that have been like slowed down or restricted because people people interact with a lot of people, and that's
No, it was crazy. Like I was at LA Fitness and I saw this like really old guy like pull out of a Honda Civic, and yeah, and he had nothing on. He was like, I was like, you're so brave for walking into this gym with no mask or anything. I mean, he came out a few minutes later. I don't know what was up, but yeah, I was
he
like, wow, even the old guy's not afraid.
these restrictions are for him.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, no, I actually called Costco too because they had a little gym membership like deal tie-in thing. Yeah, but then like on the phone they specifically mentioned they have hours dedicated to elderly people so they can come at low traffic time. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah,
That's big brain. That's smart.
yeah. It was like 9 a.m. I was like, perfect. No, no, no one that young is gonna wake up.
You're right. But yeah, wrapping things up. Um, yeah, this has been a good episode. This is Nuanced Nonsense. We're not experts, but we just like talking. Signing out.